Good morning, everyone. Leah Dixon here from Port Coquitlam, British Columbia, and I am live on my Facebook page every Wednesday morning at 9 a.m.-ish. This morning I am here to create using the Flowering Tulips bundle. So this is a new bundle available in the Stampin' Up! January to June 2022 mini catalog. And so I'm just going to switch my screen over so you guys can see it, and we will get started creating. All right. So here we go. This is the bundle. This is actually a bundle that is part of a larger suite that has like windmills and beautiful fields of tulips and stuff. And then there's some designer series paper and beautiful brushed brass butterflies. That's hard to say. But this is probably my favorite bundle in the suite because it has a really nice variety of sentiments that go with it. We've got a thank you, a birthday, just a thinking of you, a happy Mother's Day. So lots and lots of things that you can do with this one. All right. So the other day I had a blog post that focused mostly on using the dies to create the tulips. Today I'm going to focus mostly on using the stamp set. So we're going to move these dies out of the way. We will need one of them a little bit later. But for now we're going to focus on using this stamp set. And to create today's card, we're actually going to be stamping directly onto a layer that is 2.5 by 5.5. And so this piece, we're going to stamp directly on here and then add it onto our card front. So let's get started right away with stamping our, oh, I already took the stamps out and put them onto blocks. So there we go. We're going to be using the long stem, both leaves, all of the flowers, this little squiggle, the centerpiece, and the thank you. So pretty much everything except for the other sentiments. I might even sneak in these little X's in the background. So yeah, we're using pretty much everything in this stamp set. Good morning. As you pop on, if you want to say hi so I know who's here, that would be awesome. So to start with on this image that I'm going to stamp, I'm going to put together a little stand of tulips. I'm going to use Pear Pizzazz as my ink for my stems and my leaves. So get that open. And I've got my stem on here. Now the stem is kind of cool because you can give it as much or as little of a curve as you would like it to have, just by how you place it on the block. So I've given mine just the slightest curve. And I'm going to come on in here and stamp this first one just slightly curved to the right and up fairly high because I want my center flower to be the highest of the flowers. So I've just stamped that, and then I'm going to actually turn it around so it curves the other way and stamp almost like right as close as I can beside it another flower, or another stem, sorry, for a flower that's going to go down a little bit lower. Oh, good morning, Gail. And then I'm going to turn it back around the original direction and come down even lower and stamp the next one. There we go. So now I've got those 3 stems. They don't quite line up and look perfect in the center. That's okay. We're going to add in some leaf layers and some ribbon and stuff, so it's going to hide it all up. So next I'm going to take the largest of the 2 leaves, ink that up again in Pear Pizzazz, and come in and stamp that on one side, and then I'm going to turn it around and stamp it on the other side. Okay, so all of this has been done so far in Pear Pizzazz. Just put these off to the side as I finish them. The next thing I'm going to do is grab that little squiggle and ink it up, and I'm going to stamp it in so it creates almost like the ground just off on the side of that one. And then I'm going to take the smaller leaf. Now you can use this as a smaller leaf. Today though, I am actually going to get a piece of scrap paper. I've inked it up in Pear Pizzazz. I'm going to stamp it off, and then I'm going to stamp right over top of my other leaf, and it's just going to add in some lighter Pear Pizzazz into that leaf. So I've got 2 tones of green as well as some white. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. There we go. So it's just adding in a little bit more color to those leaves. So that is all of our stamping with our pear pizzazz. We've created a nice little base for our flowers. I do like to stamp my stems first, just so that I get a sense of like where they're going to fall on the card. So I'm just going to move my pear pizzazz out of the way and move my leaves back out of the way so I have some space here to stamp. So our next step is to work on creating our flowers, and our flowers are a 2-step stamping. Oh, hi, Jacqueline. I know it's a really nice bundle. I would like the windmill as well, but I haven't got there yet. Started with the tulips. All right, so for my flowers, for my tulips, I'm actually going to use fresh freesia. And I'm going to start with the largest, roundest flower in the background. And I'm going to come on in, full strength fresh freesia, and find kind of like the flat side of that flower and stamp it full strength. Now it doesn't look like much yet. I was a little disappointed the first time I stamped it. But then I realized, oh, it's 2-step stamping. So I'm going to take the other round flower, ink it up, stamp it off, and then it's actually a pretty easy one to line up because there's this little divot into it. And so just did that, stamped it. So now we've got our second tone on there. And I'm not finished that flower yet, but I'm going to move on and stamp my other flowers. Oh yes, Jacqueline, the iridescent rhinestones are amazing. We will actually be putting some on this card. All right, now I'm going to take the smallest flower, the one that kind of looks like the closed up tulip. It hasn't opened yet. And we're going to stamp that one down here. So full strength. And then we're going to get just this little petal piece, ink that up in fresh freesia, stamp it off, and then right in the center, you'll see where it fits so nicely. We're going to just go in and stamp some stamped off fresh freesia in there. And now my last flower is not going to fit in the space that I have for it. That's okay. That was actually planned because I want my flower to be going off of this piece. So I've got a scrap of white here, basic white. I'm going to get the next open tulip, ink it up full strength fresh freesia. And then we've got this little petal piece that looks kind of like a heart. I'm going to ink that one up in fresh freesia and stamp it off. Find a little heart shape on this tulip and stamp that color into there. So we've got that color filled in. The ribbon in this suite's nice as well, Jacqueline. I'm actually pairing this one up with a different ribbon though. I'm not going to use the one that came with this suite. I'm going to be using, which one is this? The Gray Granite Shimmer ribbon. So that's the ribbon that I'm going to be pairing up with this. I really like the Gray Granite with the fresh freesia. All right, so with all of that stamped, we have one more piece to stamp before I go ahead and cut that out. So I'm going to bring our original tulips back in. And there's this little squiggle piece. I'll actually show it to you on the box. It's easier to see. There's this little squiggle piece in there. And that's actually meant to be the center of our bigger open flower. So I am actually going to do mine in Blackberry Bliss. Not full strength though, that would be really, really dark. So I've got my Blackberry Bliss, I've got my little squiggle, and I've got my scrap paper. I'm going to ink that up, stamp it off, and then stamp that into the center of my flower just to give a little bit of color there. And there we go. So that's all I'm really using my Blackberry Bliss for, but that's okay. I might actually use it in the background as well. We'll see. We'll see how this card comes along. So I'm going to move these things out of the way now and grab my dies. So with the dies, we have dies that cut out all of those flowers that I just stamped, as well as dies that make 3-dimensional tulips. We've got dies to cut out the leaves and stems, a die to cut out a different stem, a not stamped stem. and then this really fun like row of tulips die. So we are going to use this one that is going to cut out this lovely flower that I stamped. Not that it would be hard to fussy cut, but you know what? I'm not the biggest fussy cutter fan. I'll do it if I have to. So here we go. Bring in my mini. I am using plate 3 with plate 2 for cutting. I find that it makes a much smoother cut. I don't have trouble getting the plates to catch when I do that. Here we go. Cut through. And there we have our nice little tulip piece all cut out. Move that to the side. My die back where it belongs. There we go. I'm working really hard on decluttering again and keeping it decluttered. That's the harder part. All right, and then our little tulip here can go right onto our card front like that. And it's just kind of falling off just a tiny bit off of the front of our card. All right, so let's put that on with a dimensional. We should, well, yeah, we can do it now. I was going to say we should probably wait, but it's all good. We can do it now. So, yeah, just like that. There we go. So pop that on with the dimensional. Get that back up into view for you. So now we've created this beautiful little stand of tulips. I just absolutely love how easy these tulips are to put together. And we can start actually building our card. So I did think about pairing this up with the paper that comes in the suite, but I decided I have all this paper from my In Color Club that I should really be using. So I've grabbed a piece of fresh freesia. This is from the In Color Designer Series pack. And so it's a nice little pack. You get all the in colors from this year. So the polished pink, soft succulent, evening evergreen pale papaya, and the fresh freesia. And it comes in 4 different patterns. So I've used the plaid here. I really like the plaid. And I'm actually just going to flip this over and run a little bit of Seal or Seal Plus down. Oops, press hard, otherwise it will catch. Oh, I'm almost out. That's fine. There we go. Oh yeah, there we go. And I'm done. Okay, that was the end of my roll. I have to go see if I have a replacement. That's okay. I have enough here to hold my Designer Series papers. So I'm now going to take that with my little run of seal there. I'm actually going to use the Designer Series paper to help me line this up. I'm using the center point on the plaid to make sure that I get this completely straight top to bottom. So I've just lined it up where the plaid meets. So all the way down. That way I get the perfect straight line on that. Okay, so with that piece of Designer Series paper put on there, I'm going to grab my ribbon now. And I'm just going to cut a little piece right, like just a bit bigger than the piece I have created here. Okay, and with that done, I'm going to flip this back over. Well, actually, I'm going to line this up so that it covers up that spot where the stems don't quite perfectly meet. I'm going to use this to cover that. Flip it over, and then we can use, I guess I use just regular seal since I just used up all my Seal Plus. We're going to use just some regular seal. Come on. There we go. And oops, I'm going to tuck this ribbon over into that adhesive that I just put there. Now, before I do this one, I'm just going to double check that I've got this in the right spot. Okay. So I'm just tucking that around the back so that it's sticking into my adhesive on both sides. Okay. So that's all there is to that. Now I'm going to grab, oh, thanks, Gail. I know the colors and the flowers themselves are just gorgeous. I am going to grab some liquid glue, Actually, oh yeah, I can do that. I'm going to grab some liquid glue and put this all over the back of this piece. And then we are going to center this right onto our card front. And I realized I never brought my card front out. So I have a basic sized card, 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4, of Coastal Cabana. And this is going to get placed right centered on that card front. And this is why I'm using my liquid glue, because then I can kind of wiggle it around if I don't get it perfectly centered right from the get-go. There we go. All right. So our card is coming together quite quickly at this point. It's just a couple layers of paper onto our card base. So there we have it. We've got that going on. Now we're going to create our sentiment to add to this card front. So to do that, I've just got a scrap of fresh freesia, and I am going to just give it a little rub down. You're going to want to use like a dryer sheet or a little bag of cornstarch or something. Oh, good afternoon, Shirley. And you're just going to want to give that a little rub down to get rid of any oils that might be on your paper, because we're going to do a little bit of embossing. So I'm going to grab my Versamark and my very favorite sentiment. It's this gorgeous circle. It says, "You are so thoughtful, thank you," in this beautiful, beautiful script. So we're going to ink that up with our Versamark. I should get my Stampin' pad under here just because I am using the photopolymer. There we go. Ink that up, stamp that. There we go. And then we're going to dip this into some white embossing powder and get some color on here. So just bring in my embossing powder tray. There we go. Tap off the extra. And we're ready to heat that up. So here we go with our heat tool. There we go. All right, so that is done. We are now going to cut this out. So you have a few options. You could fussy cut it. I am actually going to bring in some dies and cut it out. I am going to use my layering circles dies. And let's see, that one's too big. There we go. I am using the third smallest die to cut this out. So it is a very tight fit. You have to look at the T and the U on thank you. Oh, sorry, I'll get that more lined up. You have to look at the T and the U on thank you to make sure that you're really getting that in the right spot. So let's put that down so I can line it up. And there we go. Nope, that just moved on me. There we go. So you can use washi tape to hold this in place if you want to make sure you get it centered and it stays centered. And that should be good. And we have that. Perfect. All right, so we've just cut that one out, and that is ready to go onto our card front now. And I am going to attach it with dimensionals. So I'm going to bring our card back in. I've got that cute little sentiment there embossed on fresh freesia cardstock. We're going to use some dimensionals just to pop it on. Actually, I wonder, should we switch sides? No, I do like it on that side. So it overlaps onto the fresh freesia plaid that we have on there. So I'm just going to grab 3, probably 2 at the top, 1 at the bottom of dimensionals. There we go. And pop that right on there. And I'm lining the thank you up so that it's running across my ribbon, basically. All right, so that's done. And then, am I using this set on Thursday? Oh, for our monthly club? No, this month, oh my goodness, this month, what were we using? I don't know, Jacqueline. I'm going to have to get back to you on that one. I know I'm sending out the PDF later today. But with being sick and everything, my mind is gone. I wrote up the PDF a couple weeks ago. What set are we using? Darn it. Oh, I know. We're using the Blessings of Home stamp set for this month's club. And then next month's club will be using Wildlife Wonder. So yeah, this one might feature, but not till like April. I actually have our monthly clubs already planned out, and I didn't know I was going to love this one so much. All right, so I've just wrapped that around and tied a little bow. Now this gray granite shimmer ribbon can be a little bit stiff, so you do need to kind of play with it and move it around and get it sitting how you want. And I actually didn't like how that ended up sitting, so I'm going to actually cut. I don't normally pre-cut. Yeah, I haven't sent it yet, Jacqueline. I'll send it out this afternoon. It's on my to-do list. So I'm actually going to pre-cut a piece. I don't often do that when I'm working with ribbon. And I'm just going to like run it through my hands and kind of try and soften it a bit, because it can be a little bit of a stiff ribbon otherwise. So just giving it a little roll and trying to soften it up a bit. All right, so now I've just tucked it under. I didn't even tie a knot or anything. I just created 2 bunny ears, wrapped them around each other. There we go. And created my bow. And then just tighten that up. So there we go. Softening that ribbon helps a little bit. So you can like run it over your bone folder if you want, or just rub it through your fingers and get it a little bit softer. And then we'll trim up those edges. This one I'm going to tuck under my sentiment. There we go. Trim that side. All right. So we are nearly done this card. I am just going to, so this ribbon you can also slide back and forth now and put it where you'd like it. I'm actually quite happy with where it is. And now our last step is to add some embellishments. So I have the iridescent rhinestones here. And I'm just going to use my Take Your Pick tool. I was cleaning my office and I found it. Yay! So I'm just going to use that. I like to use the pointy end to pick those up and place these iridescent rhinestones onto. I wonder if that one. No, I'll put it on. There we go. So we've got that done. And now the only thing that I would like to do to this card to finish it off is just to add in a layer of basic white to the inside. I always kind of think it looks nice when you finish it off that way. And I'm actually thinking that I would like to stamp a little tulip on here before I do that. So I'm going to bring this in. I'm also going to bring in my scrap paper because I'm going to stamp off the bottom. And this time I'm going to do it a little bit backwards. Last time around, I stamped my stem first and then my flower. This time I'm going to stamp my flower first because I want it in a particular position, and then I'll stamp my stem based on where that ends up. So I want one that way, and I want another one up like that. So just 2 little tulips on the inside. And now those ones need the smaller piece. Stamp it off, put in the color, stamp it off, put in the color. There we go. So I've stamped my flower first in this case because it needs to, like, I really wanted it in that particular spot. All right, then I'm going to grab my pear pizzazz again and my stem. And now I can come in and place my stems appropriately. And I am going to add in a leaf, but that smaller leaf that we were stamping off before is the leaf that I'm now going to add in, just all on its own. And we're not even going to get too much of it. There we go, just a little bit. And on the other side, I'm going to come in and do just a little bit. There we go. All right, so just a little bit of decoration for the inside of our card as well. So you can see how you can stamp the flowers or the leaves first, depending on, you know, what's most important. In this one, I didn't care about keeping all the leaves on the card. It was more about the placement of those flowers. So, oh, my rhinestones are very well used. Yes, I use them on most projects these days. The iridescent rhinestones are the new black. There we go. And then we'll just pop this onto the inside of our card. And we have a beautiful thank you card, which is great because I made a lot of those this month. There we go. So that is our finished card. I'm so glad you guys liked it. And I hope you see just how easy these flowering tulips are to create with. Like, they're just very, very simple two-step stamping and make for great fun cards. So I'm just going to switch my view. Awesome. So thanks so much for joining me. If you guys liked that, I am actually going to be offering a Flowering Tulips card class at the end of February. You have until February 6th to RSVP for that one. And the link is in the description of this video. You can also check out the other card samples I've posted this week. There's one that made it onto my blog. I'm not sure I've got it onto my onto my Facebook page yet, that I did for my hand stamp sentiments challenge this week. And yeah, so that's the set. I hope you guys like that. Have a great Wednesday, and I hope you can join me on Sunday. I'm doing a special series, Celebration Sundays, for the month of January and February, highlighting some of our celebrations stamp sets. I can't remember right now what stamp set's being featured, but if you go to my events, it's all listed there, which stamp sets I'm featuring on which days. So yeah, have a great Wednesday. And Jacqueline, I'll see you on Thursday night. Oh, that's tomorrow night. Wow. I'll see you tomorrow night for monthly club. And anybody else who's interested in learning more about club, you guys can actually click on my link tree, and I've got information there about how you can join. And yeah, we do 4 cards every month and have a nice little visit. All right. Take care, everyone. Bye.